Lyra is alone in her quarters, reflecting on the events. She hears a knock. It's the human, offering help with repairs after the attack. Conversation. The human shares stories about Earth and humanity, showing empathy, humor, and kindness. Lyra is slowly falling in love, feeling emotions she never allowed herself to feel. Lyra's alien society discovers her growing connection with a human. Elders confront her, warning that humans are forbidden. Tension builds as the human offers to leave to protect her, but Lyra realizes she doesn't want him to leave. Lyra chooses courage. She defies societal rules to be with him. A sudden attack on the city puts everyone in danger, including Lyra. Welcome to my channel Sci-Fi Love Story. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. The city of Varelia stretched endlessly under a sky of shimmering violet clouds. Towering spires of polished metal reflected the soft glow of the twin suns, while hovering vehicles zipped silently between them. To any visitor, it looked like a perfect world, a society built on beauty, intelligence, and harmony. Yet, beneath the sparkling surface, a harsh rule governed every life: imperfection was forbidden. Those who bore any flaw were shunned, mocked, or hidden away. Among the bustling crowd, a young alien woman walked alone, her posture straight despite the stares that followed her like shadows. Her name was Lyra, and across her delicate features ran a scar, a deep, jagged line that twisted from her temple to her jaw. Though she moved with grace, her scar made others recoil. Parents pulled their children close. Merchants avoided her gaze. Every whisper felt like a dagger, cutting into her heart. Lyra had learned to live with rejection. She had no friends, no family who accepted her as she was, and every day was a test of endurance. Yet, she held her head high, masking her pain behind calm green eyes. They see only my scar, not my strength, she thought bitterly. As she walked through the crowded market, the hum of conversation was punctuated by sharp whispers. Look at her face. Disgusting. She doesn't belong here. She kept moving, her hands tightly clutching a small pouch of precious items, a gift she had been preparing for the annual Harmony Festival. Suddenly, her foot caught on a loose panel, and she stumbled. The pouch fell to the ground, spilling its contents, shimmering crystals that glowed faintly in the violet light. Immediately, a circle of onlookers formed. Several young aliens sneered, pointing at the crystals and laughing. How pathetic. Even her gifts are ugly. Lyra bent down, cheeks burning, but before she could pick up the pieces, a deep, calm voice spoke behind her. Careful. Startled, she looked up. There, a human man stood, taller than most aliens, with a lean frame and sharp, observant eyes. Unlike the others, he did not laugh. Without hesitation, he stepped forward and gathered the crystals, holding them carefully in his hands. Here, he said simply, handing them back. His voice was soft but confident. No harm done. For a moment, Lyra stared at him, speechless. Humans were rare in Varelia, and few trusted them. They were seen as unpredictable, even dangerous. And yet, this one seemed different. Calm, polite, and genuinely unafraid of her scar. Thank you, Lyra managed, her voice barely above a whisper. The human smiled, a subtle curve of his lips that made his eyes shine. You're welcome. It was nothing. The market crowd murmured, clearly unsettled by the human's kindness. A human, helping a scarred alien. Impossible, one elder muttered. Lyra felt a strange warmth spread through her chest, a feeling she had not experienced in years. Curiosity, perhaps, or maybe something deeper. The human glanced at the bustling market, then back at her. Are you okay? He asked. There was no hint of mockery, no hesitation. Only concern. Lyra nodded slowly, unsure what to make of him. Why does he care? She wondered. No one has ever looked at me like that. The human's name was Ethan, though she did not learn it yet. He seemed to glide through the market, helping others with small acts of kindness, catching a child who tripped, guiding an elderly alien past a busy intersection, even picking up a dropped cart of fruit for a frazzled vendor. Everywhere he went, the crowd whispered. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but this one seemed almost noble. Lyra found herself following him quietly, weaving through the market, hiding behind stalls. She wanted to watch, to understand why this human did not fear her scar, why he treated her with the same care he offered everyone else. But then, a sudden shout broke the quiet tension. Thief! Stop him! A cloaked figure had snatched a merchant's bag and was running through the crowd. Panic erupted as vendors tried to chase, but the thief was fast. Without hesitation, Ethan sprinted forward, his long legs eating the distance between him and the thief. Lyra froze for a moment, then instinctively ran after him. The chase ended near the edge of the market. Ethan moved with precision, tackling the thief to the ground without harming him. The bag was safe, and the thief lay groaning on the ground as the crowd stared in stunned silence. Lyra's heart pounded. She had never seen such bravery, such courage. Humans were feared for their strength, but Ethan had used it to protect, not to dominate. And then he looked at her, not with fear, not with disgust, but with a calm, steady gaze. "Are you hurt?" he asked, though she was. No, she said, almost too quickly. He nodded, helping her steady herself. For a brief second, their eyes met, and Lyra felt a jolt she could not explain. Something deep inside her stirred, a mix of awe, fear, and, maybe longing. She wanted to say something, to ask him why he cared. But before she could, the market erupted again. Rumors spread that a human had dared to touch a scarred alien, breaking the unwritten rules of Varelia society. Elders whispered to one another, and a few guards began moving toward them. Ethan glanced at Lyra. "Stay close," he said quietly. "Stay close." Those words echoed in her mind as they navigated the market together. For the first time in years, she did not feel alone. As the day wore on, Lyra could not shake the feeling of being drawn to this human. She watched as he helped a small alien child catch a runaway hover drone, and then assisted an elderly vendor in lifting a heavy crate. Everywhere he went, he acted with a natural kindness, without thought for status or fear of others' judgment. Lyra's mind raced. "Why do I feel this way?" she asked herself. "Why does he not care about my scar? Why does it matter that he sees me as more than that?" Night fell over Varelia, and the city glowed with the light of thousands of neon signs. Lyra walked back to her small, secluded quarters, her thoughts tangled with confusion and hope. She had never trusted anyone, especially not humans. And yet, she felt a strange connection, an odd sense of safety in the presence of Ethan. Suddenly, the quiet of the evening was shattered by an alarm. Red lights flashed across the city as an explosion rocked a nearby district. Screams and chaos erupted as alien citizens scattered. Lyra's heart jumped. She ran toward the source of the noise, instinctively knowing that danger was near. And there he was, Ethan, standing in the middle of the chaos, facing a group of heavily armed attackers. His eyes locked with hers, and he beckoned her to follow. Without thinking, Lyra ran. The attackers moved with precision, but Ethan was faster, guiding Lyra through narrow alleys and hidden paths. Bullets of energy zipped past them, and debris rained from broken buildings. Lyra's fear surged, but so did something else, trust. She had never trusted anyone before, but somehow, she trusted him with her life. Finally, they reached a safe rooftop. Lyra leaned against the railing, gasping for breath. Ethan looked at her, sweat on his brow, but his expression calm. "Are you all right?" he asked again. Lyra nodded, her voice barely audible. "Yes, thanks to you." Ethan smiled faintly. "You're stronger than you think." For a long moment, they stood in silence, watching the chaos below. Lyra realized she had never felt so alive, so seen, so safe. And then, as if sensing her thoughts, Ethan added softly, "You don't have to be afraid of who you are. Not with me." Lyra's chest tightened. No one had ever said that to her before. No one had ever looked past her scar to see her. And in that moment, she felt something stir in her heart. A connection, a spark, a first hint of love. But even as hope blossomed, the city remained under attack. Danger was still out there, and her world was still harsh and cruel. The human was kind, yes, but could he survive in Varelia? Could she survive the scrutiny of her society if she chose to trust him? As Lyra watched him prepare to move again, leading her away from the chaos, she realized that for the first time in her life, she did not want to run alone. The night in Varelia was alive with chaos. Fires burned in distant streets, alarms blared, and the wail of emergency sirens echoed through the city's towering spires. Yet, on a quiet rooftop overlooking the destruction, Lyra and the human, Ethan, paused to catch their breath. Lyra's heart still raced, but she was no longer trembling from fear. The events of the day had changed her. For the first time, she felt seen and protected. Her scar, which had been a symbol of rejection and shame, no longer seemed like a mark of weakness. With Ethan, it felt like a part of her story that mattered, a part that made her real and strong. Ethan turned toward her, his eyes scanning the city below. "We need to move," he said softly. The attackers are spreading fast. I know a safe place not far from here. Lyra nodded. She wanted to protest, to insist she could handle herself, but something inside told her, trust him. She followed silently, her steps light, but her mind buzzing. She had no idea why she felt this strange, compelling pull toward him. Humans were dangerous, or at least, everyone in Varelia said so, but he didn't feel dangerous. He felt honest. As they made their way through dimly lit alleyways and hidden passageways, Lyra finally found her voice. Why are you helping me? She asked, her words quiet. No one else has ever cared, not even a little. Ethan glanced at her, a faint smile tugging at his lips. Because you deserve it, he said simply. Everyone judges you for something they don't understand. I see you, not your scar, not what society says, just you. Lyra felt heat rise to her cheeks. Her throat tightened. No one had spoken to her like that before. And the truth was undeniable. She wanted to believe him. They reached a small abandoned building at the edge of the city, a structure that had survived the chaos by sheer luck. Inside, the air was cool and quiet, a stark contrast to the streets below. Lyra sank onto a crate, her exhaustion catching up with her. Ethan crouched beside her, checking the small first aid kit he carried. You need this, he said gently, noticing the faint scratch on her arm from the rooftop scramble. Lyra shook her head. I'm fine. You might be fine now, he said, his tone firm but kind, but a little care goes a long way. Reluctantly, Lyra let him tend to her wound. As he worked, the silence between them was comfortable, almost intimate. She noticed the way his hands moved with care, the faint scent of something earthy, human, warm. And again, she wondered, why do I feel this way about him? Before she could think too much, Ethan spoke again. I'm from Earth, he said, as if answering a question she hadn't asked aloud. I've seen a lot of worlds, a lot of societies. I've learned that beauty and courage come in many forms. You have both, Lyra. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Lyra felt her heart clench. His words were simple, yet they struck deep. She had spent her entire life hiding, pretending to be invisible, enduring ridicule, and now, someone believed in her. Truly believed in her, but before she could respond, a loud crash shook the building. Lyra and Ethan froze, instinctively ducking behind crates. The attackers had found this building. Their pursuit was relentless, and they were closing in. Ethan's eyes darkened with resolve. Stay here, he ordered, though Lyra could hear the tension in his voice. I'm coming with you, she said immediately. He hesitated. No, it's too dangerous. She stood, her jaw set. I'm not running anymore. I've spent my life hiding. I won't hide from this, not from you. Ethan studied her for a long moment. Then, finally, he nodded. All right, but stay close. The building's door shattered with a thunderous crash. Alien attackers flooded inside, weapons glowing with lethal energy. Ethan moved first, using speed and precision to disarm two attackers before they could strike. Lyra followed, her movements sharp and focused. She was terrified, yes, but something inside had awakened, a courage she never knew existed. Together, they fought as a unit. Ethan handled the attackers with skill, but Lyra was no bystander. She ducked, rolled, and used her environment, crates, pipes, and debris, to her advantage. Every time she dodged a strike or blocked an attack, her confidence grew. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the last attacker fell. The room was silent, except for their heavy breathing. Lyra looked around, her heart pounding with adrenaline. She had survived, and she had fought alongside a human without fear. Ethan approached her, eyes scanning her for injuries. You were incredible, he said quietly. I didn't expect anyone to be that brave. Lyra swallowed, her chest tight. I had to be. I couldn't just hide anymore. He smiled softly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. For a fleeting moment, Lyra felt the warmth of human touch, and her heart raced in a way it never had before. But reality came crashing back. Varelia's elders and the city guards would not tolerate what she had done. Being seen with a human, fighting alongside one, was a crime in their eyes. Her courage might have saved lives, but it also marked her as a rebel. Ethan seemed to sense her thoughts. Lyra, whatever happens, he said, voice low and steady, I won't leave your side. We face this together. Lyra's eyes filled with tears, not from fear, but from relief and hope. No one had ever stood by her like that. Not her family, not her so-called friends. And now, someone had chosen her, scars and all. The next morning, the city was in ruins. Fires burned in distant districts, smoke curling into the violet sky. News spread quickly. The scarred alien woman and the human had fought valiantly, saving countless lives. Lyra watched from her hidden vantage point as whispers spread through the city. She's a hero. And the human, he's not dangerous. Slowly, perceptions began to shift. The scar that had once marked her as an outcast now marked her as someone strong, someone brave. Still, Lyra knew her challenges were far from over. Society would not easily forgive a scarred alien who defied rules, especially one seen with a human. But for the first time, she felt ready to face them. Ethan appeared beside her, handing her a small cup of water. "You okay?" he asked, his eyes warm and steady. Lyra nodded, though her voice trembled slightly. "I am now, because of you." He smiled. "We did it together." For a moment, they simply stood, watching the city awaken. Lyra's thoughts wandered to the life she had once thought impossible, one where she could be seen for who she truly was, not her scar. And maybe, just maybe, someone like Ethan could show her that love was possible, even in a world that seemed determined to reject it. The days that followed were tense. The elders summoned her, demanding answers, warning of punishment. But Lyra no longer feared them. She had Ethan by her side, and she had the courage she had discovered in the fight. During the hearing, she stood tall. Her scar was visible, her hands unsteady but her voice strong. "I fought to save lives," she said. "I fought alongside a human because it was the right thing to do. If that makes me a criminal, then I will accept it, but I will not hide anymore." A murmur ran through the chamber. Many expected her to collapse, to beg for forgiveness. But Lyra held her ground. And then, something unexpected happened. Citizens who had once mocked her stepped forward, speaking in her defense. "She saved my brother. She helped my family escape." Slowly, support grew. The city began to see her as more than her scar, as a symbol of courage, of defiance, of hope. Ethan stood quietly behind her, offering strength and reassurance. When the elders demanded his departure, Lyra spoke for the first time with authority. "He is not my enemy. He is my friend, and more than that, he has shown me kindness and courage beyond what this society fears. We will not be punished for seeing the truth." The chamber fell silent, and for the first time in her life, Lyra felt free. That evening, as the twin sun set over Varelia, Lyra and Ethan stood atop the highest spire of the city. The wind whipped around them, carrying the sense of smoke and rebuilding. Lyra turned to him, her scar catching the last rays of sunlight, turning almost golden. "I never thought I could feel this way," she admitted softly. "I never thought someone could see me for me." Ethan took her hand gently. "You deserve it," he said. "Not because of what you look like, but because of who you are." Lyra's heart swelled. For the first time, she believed it. She had been rejected by everyone for her scar, but here stood a human who had made her feel beautiful, brave, and loved. As night fell over the city, Lyra and Ethan watched the stars twinkle above the violet clouds. Their hands intertwined, a silent promise passing between them. The world might still judge, might still fear, might still reject. But together, they had found hope, courage, and love. Lyra smiled at the human who had changed her life forever. "Maybe some scars," she whispered, "are meant to lead us to love." And in that moment, nothing else mattered.